Yep, Raheem, can you, are our pictures on the next slide?
I can't see your slides for some odd reason.
Okay, just give me a second. I just want to make sure everyone can see the slides.
Okay, there you go. I think I can. Hang on. I don't know. It's because if you change me to the presentation, the host.
Okay. Yeah, that's probably why. So just give me a second and I will do something quickly. And I promise everyone we will get this going ASAP. Can you see my slides now?
I cannot.
Okay, what about everybody else? Can everyone else see my slides? If you could just type yes or no in the question box, it would be, you cannot see my slides. Okay, hold on.
Okay, I made you the presenter now. See if you can do it now. There we go. All good.
Okay, yep. Okay, great. Okay, so we're on, we're good. Okay, hi everyone. And so let's get started. Welcome to our certificate in user experience or UX design. My name is Marina DeBona and I appreciate your patience. There's always some technical difficulty, but we managed to get that sorted out really quickly. I am a program manager for continuing professional education, and the UX program is luckily, the UX program is in my portfolio. It's one of the programs that I enjoy the most. And I work with a wonderful guy. His name is Raheem, and he's here with us today. He is one of our instructors, and he also is our academic coordinator for the program. And so he will be doing a special presentation today on his background, as well as he will be showcasing some of the awesome work that our students and our graduates have produced in their portfolios in the program. So without further ado, let's get started with the presentation, and then Raheem, I'll hand it over to you when it's your turn to speak. Okay?
Sure.
Okay, so I wanted just in terms of housekeeping, this is being recorded, and all of you will get a copy of this recording. You can please use the question box to ask any questions, and Raheem and I would be happy to answer any of your questions at the end of the presentation. Now, you know who we are. You're going to find out a lot more about Raheem later on in the presentation, but we want to know about you, a little bit about you. So I've got two polls that I'd like to launch. The first poll is, we are interested in knowing how many of you are interested in the fall program. And so if you could answer the question, if you're interested in the fall cohort that starts in September, that'd be great. Okay, so we have some people that are not interested in registering for the fall cohort. They may be interested in the winter program. We have a winter, summer, and fall program, which I'll talk a little bit more about later on. But there are some, about 36% of you are actually interested in the fall, which is terrific. Now, the next question is, do you fit in any of these categories in terms of your career, your profession at the moment? Okay, So we've got graphic designers, we've got web developers, we have consultants, product managers, and I'm curious, there's a big other, and I would love maybe at the end, maybe you could put in the question box where you're actually working currently, if it's not, on the list. Okay, terrific. That's very, very good and very useful information for us. So in terms of an agenda for today, we are going to be together for 1 hour until 1 o'clock. I'll talk to you a little bit about York University and our School of Continuing Studies, why choose the Continuing Studies school in terms of your professional development needs, what is the T-shaped professional, and then I'm going to turn it over to Rahim. He'll talk to you about UX design, what some of the job projections are in the field. He's going to be giving you a special presentation. So really, I know that you guys are all here to hear from Rahim rather than from me, but I will give you a lot of the administrative types of information as well. We'll talk about the learning format, the schedule for fall and subsequent offerings, and then how to register for the program. And then of course, we're going to have a Q&A at the very end. So in terms of York University, for those that are not familiar with York University, we are the 3rd largest institution in Canada. We're located in the city of Toronto. We're at the Keele and Steeles main campus. We're actually building our School of Continuing Studies that was founded on really cutting edge types of programs like UX design. Is going to have a brand new building at on the main campus of York University. So there are some classes that will be held on campus, not particularly in this program right now, but we do have a beautiful building that will house a lot of our international programs that have full-time offerings and will be on campus. And we do offer other programs that are in a blended format, and so part of it is going to be online, and then some classes may be on campus in this beautiful building that we are building right now, and which will be probably ready in May of 2022. Our community comprises a big group of students. York University-wide, we've got 53,000 students. That's not continuing studies, but York University-wide, there's 53,000 students. We've got lots of international students as well from 178 different countries. And our school not only offers part-time professional development programs, but we also offer full-time programs that are normally attracted by international students that are coming from all over the world. Now, why choose our certificate in UX design? So the first feature is that it's offered in a blended delivery format. And the advantage and the benefit of that is that it's flexible. You can work full-time while still taking the program. The blended part of it, which is a live component, is actually held on the weekend. So again, it'll help balance the priorities. We have a condensed format that we have developed, which is shorter than many other programs. In terms of strengthening and validating your UX skill set, you can do all of that in 8 months. The third is the cohort model. So what that means is that you are not going to be purchasing one course at a time. There's actually 4 courses in this program, and we're going to showcase what those 4 courses are. And Rahim will talk a little bit more about them later. But you will be progressing through the program with the same group of students from start to end. So what this means is that all 4 courses you're guaranteed to have scheduled. The curriculum flows logically from one course to the next. That's how we built the program. And most importantly, it gives students an opportunity to really build close connections with their peers, to formulate and create support networks, form study groups, get to know their instructors really, really well. The fourth feature is that you're going to be building a portfolio of work with a real client. And Rahim is actually the instructor for that 4th applied UX design course, and he'll talk a lot about that later on. But students actually, they work with a real client on a real project rather than it being just a case study. And so it becomes very much more real and actually creates lots of cachet to your portfolio and a portfolio that you can use when interviewing for a job to showcase your skills. And lastly is that all of our instructors, like Raheem, are from industry. So what they do is that they apply all the core concepts and the theories to real and help students actually make connections to real world, right? And again, the benefits of that is that students always remain current in the field because they're getting amazing examples from their instructors, examples that they're bringing in from their experience having working in the industry. So the next slide is about the T-shaped professional, and in all of our programs, our goal is to produce graduates who are called T-shaped professionals. And what that means is that they have the core skills to do the job, which are the bottom of the T, but the top of the T are those cross-functional skills that are really important for students and graduates to have to succeed in their career. So employers report that cross-functional competencies or soft skills are actually lacking in the current talent pool. So what we've done is we've taken these competencies, we know how increasingly important they are becoming for organizational and personal success. We've identified what these competencies are, and we have interwoven them throughout the program through various mechanisms. Okay, and Raheem could talk a little bit more about that when he talks about his course, but some of those cross-functional competencies that you can expect to actually practice are things like critical thinking, communication, both oral and written communication, collaboration, very important in the UX design field, emotional intelligence, negotiating and influencing, business acumen, understanding the business context, and presentation skills, having really good presentation skills. So I am going to turn it over to Raheem, and he's going to take the next few slides.
Alrighty, can you guys hear me?
Yep, perfect.
All right, perfect. So I'm sure you guys know what UX design is, because otherwise you wouldn't be here or you wouldn't want to learn more about it. So UX design is pretty much an industry that's blossomed a lot in the last decade. My background is originally in industrial design, which is physical product design. I'll just briefly tell you about myself right now. So I originally went to Carleton University for industrial design, and I minored in business. Worked in various different places in Toronto, and then right around 2011, I decided to move to sunny San Francisco to pursue grad school, and I did an MBA in design strategy because I felt designers didn't know anything about business, myself specifically. So I kind of wanted to learn more about that world of merging design and business together. At that point, I learned more about UX design, which was, where applications for the iPhone and Android were kind of really taking market share, and a lot of startups and companies were, needing and wanting to develop applications which required UX designers. So right around the time of let's say 2009, 2010, up till 2015, there were a lot of more opportunities for UX design, and now there's so much more opportunities because every company needs, a responsive website, an application, kiosks. Like there's user interface design is something that's not going away anytime soon. So yeah, do you want to go to the next slide? Marina? Next slide. Hello? Marina, you there? All right, I have these slides on my other laptop. Okay, so the job market in terms of, there we go. Okay, so the job market, like I said, has grown by a lot over the course of the last little while. Toronto, I'm sure you guys are scattered all across Canada. Toronto in general, where I'm from, there's so much opportunity here. Places like Ottawa, Vancouver, Calgary, pretty much Edmonton, we've had students from all across Canada, and there's, companies, whether it's a small startup or a corporation, everyone needs UX designers. So in terms of getting a job, obviously, I'm not going to say you take this program and you're going to be guaranteed a job. You obviously have to put in the work. But long as you're passionate, you have a good you have a good portfolio of case studies that you can, speak to, There's nothing stopping you from landing at a company long as you can articulate yourself and what you're passionate about and your design process, which is what we basically teach in this program. Do you want to go to the next slide, please? So yeah, next slide. Okay, so I'm gonna, like I said, I've been grateful to be a designer for a while now. It's something that I always was passionate about as a kid. My process is pretty much built into this curriculum. So the cool thing about this program is, as Marina mentioned, all the instructors are practicing professionals. So we have individuals from Shopify. We have one instructor that used to be at Shopify. She's now at Spotify in Sweden, and she's still teaching, which is pretty awesome. And then another individual that used to work at Loblaws, and now I think he's at Maple. So there's people that are, doing amazing things in the field of design research, UX design, UI design. But the cool thing about this program was that we had the opportunity to design the curriculum from scratch, and that really intrigued me because I basically took everything that I wanted to learn in school and put that into the program. So, for example, when I was in school, you do all these fictitious projects, right? You do this I don't know, whatever, let's say you design a weather app, right? But how relevant is that towards you, right? So one of the things that we wanted to do in this program was, actually work with real existing clients, right? So what that means is, I've been grateful to work with over 40 various clients, from nonprofits to local businesses, even corporations. We worked with Home Depot a couple of terms ago. And the whole emphasis is that basically applying the design process while you work with these clients. So I'll touch on that in a second, but my process has pretty much been, question the problem, you do research. Design research is the foundation of any design project, making connections, learning about the insights, and then design, create, testing your designs, and then producing, and then the cycle goes over and over again. Next slide, please. So yeah, like I mentioned, I went to Carleton University for industrial design, which is physical product design. And then I realized, like I said, I just felt designers aren't taught entrepreneurship, business. So I spontaneously moved to California, and I was there for about 6 years, and then came back to Toronto about 3-4 years ago. Next slide, please. So yeah, I've worked across various different industries. My career started as an industrial designer. I did everything from working at Umbra, designed lunch bags and coolers for California Innovations, and then Technion, which is office furniture design. And then I moved to California, and that's where I was exposed to UX design, design research, design strategy, and all that fun stuff. So I interned at Fuse Project, which is a really well-known industrial design branding firm run by one of the most talented industrial designers right now, named Yves Behar. So that opportunity, I would say, definitely was the foundation of my career, because even though I was interning there, I learned a lot. Mostly I learned about storytelling, and through presenting and really being able to storytell and articulate your ideas and your projects. And that's the way things work, right? When you're in a company, you have to have presentations to tell what you've done, right? And having those storytelling and presentation skills are built into my course, because every week you're going to be presenting various things to your clients. And I'll touch on that in a second. I had my own startup. It failed, unfortunately, but it was a good learning experience. Then worked at Samson's Innovation Lab. And then this is where I was a product innovation manager. And I felt at that time I didn't want to really manage projects. I wanted to design projects. So that's when I transitioned to work at Digilist and then Code and Theory as a senior design strategist, UX designer, design researcher, all that fun stuff. And then I moved to Toronto and worked at a couple of different places. And right now I'm a senior product designer at a company called VeriSense. Next slide, please. So yeah, in terms of the program outline, right? So the way this works is that, we want you to be exposed and feel comfortable going down this journey. So the first course, each course is about 7-8 weeks. The first course is all about the fundamentals of UX design, which is taught by Carmen. So this course really teaches you, the ins and outs of UX design. What are you getting yourself into? And just really establishing the foundation and the fundamentals of what UX design is all about. And you touch on various elements of the process that's implemented in the other courses. And then you're taught UX design research in the second course, taught by, I'm drawing a blank on her name. Melanie, that's right. And she works at Spotify. And then course 3 is taught by Philippe at Shopify. And course 3 is all about visual design, wireframing. You dive into Figma and the software. And then when you come to me at the end, basically my job is for you to pair you up with a real client and coach you and mentor you to have an outstanding case study for that client. And I'll touch on that in a second. But what I want to do, and my goal for this program is, or for my course, is that number one, you're going to have a portfolio so you can start applying for jobs right out of the gate. And number two is just establish all the things that, like I said, I felt that was missing when I went to design school, right? So the hard skills, but also the soft skills, right? Like communicating with the client, learning about the client's needs, like understanding, empathizing with your client, right? And those are all the things that, sometimes are overlooked in a design program. It's like the little things, right? Like sending a thank you email after each meeting with your client, stuff like that. That's really, teaching the professional skills of being a designer out there, as opposed to, in addition to, the hard skills and learning how to design and all that stuff. Next slide, please. So yeah, my course, so I've had over 34, I think we just finished, I just wrapped up a course a week ago, and we're probably hitting about 40 clients now since I started February 2020, which has been pretty wild. I've really enjoyed teaching because it allows me to learn about all the different industries the clients come from. So I'll talk about a couple of the clients in a second, but the way this works is that, so week one, the teams are, strategically put in teams based on their interests and an assessment we do called Strength Finder. And this allows them to understand a lot about themselves, right? And my goal is for you to understand, what is your superpower as a designer? And what I mean by that is, like, are you passionate about UI design? Are you passionate about UX? Are you passionate about design research? So what I want to do is really pull that out of you, right? Because it's a lot easier to apply for jobs when you know what your focus is, right? Because there's a lot of streams in design, but if you're gonna spray and pray and apply for everything and anything, your results aren't gonna really work out for you, right? So if you really figure out that, I'm super passionate about design research, Melanie taught me all of this, like I didn't even know this was a thing, and that's what I want to double down on. Amazing. So now when you're put into a team, you're gonna be the lead for the design research portion of your client project. So we establish the teams, and then we have a kickoff call with the client. So the kickoff call with the client is all about understanding the problem and just listening and learning about your client's problem. And I'll talk about the clients in just a minute. And then the second one is creating a design brief. So what is a design brief? A design brief is essentially a proposal that you're going to say, by the end of the duration of this engagement, we're going to have this done, we're going to have that done, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. What I do to make everyone's life easier is, when I started this course, all these things that I've done is my actual process. I also have my own design firm that I time to time have clients, and this is the process that I've used with my clients. So basically, it's the process that I've implemented in the course. So nothing is, I'm very familiar with this process. So what I did initially when this course started was I would share my personal projects and reports, like what a design brief looks like, what a design research report looks like, presentation looks like, what a business model canvas looks like, all that I was sharing. And then as the course progressed, I realized that, some of these students are doing better work than I've done. So I start sharing the students' examples, which allows them to resonate with what they've done. Now, obviously, the process is the process, but the context and the type of clients you work with, the content's obviously going to be different, right? But the process is the process. So you just have to apply the process to what you're working on. So as soon as you're done the design brief and the client signs off on the goals, and the reason for the design brief is to make sure that these clients don't take advantage of you. And what I mean by that is, you'll have a client that's like, oh, can you design me a new logo now? Can you do this? Can you do that? I want to make sure that everything is set on paper and the expectations are very clear, because I want to make sure everything is fair and the students are not being burnt out and so on and so forth. So I'm really cognizant on that. I vet every single client. I have a call with them. I want to make sure, the course objective is aligned with the goals of our goals as a York University program, my course, as well as the goals of the students, and then the goals of the client as well. And then we break into design research. So we spend about 2 weeks doing design research, and this is the core foundation of the course. And this is basically learning about doing design research, which means doing primary research, which is actually talking to real human beings, like potential customers, stuff like that. And then also doing competitive analysis and all that stuff, and really looking at the market landscape of what industry your client falls under, and just seeing what are the trends and so on and so forth. So it's really presenting concrete research, which is going to be the foundation of what you're going to design. Once you know the criteria of what you're going to be creating, the rest is really easy, right? Because let's say hypothetically, the color red does not validate that industry for whatever reason. I'm just hypothetically saying that. So you don't want to do that, right? You know, you want to make sure your client has a roadmap on their website if they're a startup, stuff like that, right? So you want to really make sure you have the criteria figured out. And that's established during the design and research phase. Now, what I wanted to do was sprinkle in some of the business elements that I've been taught and what I am passionate about. So we do the business model canvas, and I'll share a really good example of what that means and what that looks like. And this is what I want the designers in this program to realize is that, you know, they're not just designers. You know, they have competencies to be in a boardroom, to speak their mind, to share their creativity. Because to be candid, like creative people are rare. In the business environment, you know, there's a lot of cookie cut people, but I want to make sure these students are empowered to know that they have a voice and they're able to share their passion and what they know and their point of view. Following that, we do 3 visual, distinctively different design concepts. So this is basically showcasing 3 ideas of different variations that the client would want to see. And then obviously that gets presented and then the client picks, you know, I like this one, or I like a little bit of that, I like a little bit of this. And then once that's chosen, that's refined, and then they do a working prototype and then do user testing. So this is actually putting the app or the website in front of people and getting feedback. And you'll be surprised how much feedback you get during that phase. Like I'm always pleasantly surprised. Even in my own work, I'm like, oh, I didn't think of that. And then the final week, basically we all go on Zoom. The client pops in for usually a 30-minute time slot, and then the entire journey is presented, right? So from, you know, they showcase everything that went on in that entire journey. And what I want them to do is not just show the final project. I want them to walk everyone through like what worked, what didn't work, what were the heartaches, what did you learn, what were your biggest lessons? And that way, everyone in the class is able to understand the journey from each client and be able to kind of take those learnings and apply them to themselves. Next slide, please. Okay, so this was a couple of terms ago. This was really random. So I was at a kebab shop last year during the pandemic, and I just randomly got talking to the owner. And they are from Afghanistan. And unfortunately, we know what's happening there. So they, you know, their goal when they came to and migrated to Toronto in Canada was to create a Afghan cuisine restaurant. So they opened up right before the pandemic, and obviously, you know, every business was hit last year, and they were slowly recovering. So anyways, I got talking to the owner I was just waiting for my food. And then this course in my program and what I do randomly came up, and I'm like, hey, do you want to be a client? So that happened. So anyways, the students designed their website. Now, what was really interesting about this engagement, and the reason why I wanted to kind of share this is that, you know, understanding the business model is really important. So what we ended up doing was we ended up creating a Shopify website, and the students designed this website, and you could go on the website. And what we did was we added another revenue stream, which meant now they sell their sauces online. So in addition to the restaurant, people are able to buy their unique sauce online, and that gets shipped to whomever, right? So this was a way for them to not only build a website, but the students to also understand the business of the client and offer another revenue stream, which is selling their sauces and potentially frozen kebabs down the road. So the reason why I like sharing this example is like, number one, you helped a local restaurant that was suffering. Number two, they learned about their cuisine, and they were able to implement another revenue stream. And that's kind of what I want to get these students to start thinking about. It's not just designing a website, right? You want to be innovative, you want to be creative, you want to implement that into your client to add value to them. Next slide, please. So this was another friend of mine. He's a world-renowned Islamic geometry artist. I'm really into Islamic geometry on the side. And the students, you know, worked with him. What was really cool about Adam is that, you know, prior to the pandemic, he would basically travel to various different Islamic regions like Spain, Morocco, Turkey, Istanbul, and people would just like flock to him and be part of his teachings. I actually went to one of his workshops in New York, and then the pandemic hit. So what did he do? He ended up teaching on Zoom. And there would be at one point 400 students logged in, just watching him and participating with him to do these patterns, you know, with the compass and protractor and all that fun stuff. But his website was awful, to be completely frank. He was using PayPal. It wasn't integrated to anything. So I'm like, hey, Adam, and he's helped me a lot. So I'm like, hey, do you want to be part of my course? And then the student actually created a phenomenal website. If you go to his website now, it's adamwilliamsonart.com, if I'm not mistaken. And follow him on Instagram. He has like over 25, 30,000 followers. Like he has a crowd that follow him. So anyways, what was cool about this is that, you know, everything's integrated on his website now. You can buy artwork, you can sign up for courses. It's like, it's really, really well done compared to how old school his approach was before. So here's another win that the students got from working with a client. Next slide, please. Now, this client was a friend of mine. So I went to undergrad with his daughter, and he's like a world-renowned architect. He actually designed that mosque, which is absolutely stunning, in Korog, Tajikistan in Central Asia. Absolutely stunning building. He's 70 years old, still practicing as an architect, super passionate, world-renowned, but his website was god-awful. He was usually embarrassed to send, when someone would email him and be like, "Hey, can I see your work?" He'd be embarrassed to share his website. So I'm like, "Hey, Farouk, you know, he's a friend of mine." So I'm like, "Hey, let me help you out. Let's get the students to design your website." So they worked with them over the course of 7 weeks, and you can check out this website. It's fnda.ca if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it was phenomenal what they ended up creating in such a short amount of time. They learned about, you know, what the focal point is of this website. You know, there's so much work that they've done over the years, but let's focus on what they're really passionate about, right? And then the other thing is, going back to the business model, the revenue stream, you know, one of the issues with architects is that, you know, they get paid, but when they get paid, it takes a while, right? There isn't consistent revenue stream. It's just like a lump sum at the end of the project or whatever it is, right? So I'm like, "Hey, Farouk, you're really talented. You know, people send you emails all the time for your advice. How about we add a business model of, you know, on the website, there's a portal where people can sign up to spend like, you know, an hour with you and pay like $150 or whatever it is, and just get your feedback, right? Like they could just Zoom with you and be like, "Hey, I'm renovating my kitchen, give me some feedback," and he'll be happy to share his feedback. And this way he could be getting an additional revenue stream. So one of the things that I'm really focused on is not just designing a website or designing an app, it's being innovative and really thinking outside the box with how you could use creativity and add value to your clients. Next slide, please. So yeah, like I said, my name is Raheem. I'm the instructor for the 4th course. Carmen's the instructor for the 1st course. Melanie is the design research instructor. Philippe is the instructor for the 3rd course, which teaches UI and visual design. And then Seva, she teaches with Melanie, if I'm not mistaken.
You're right. Yeah, she does. Yeah. They alternate. Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, next slide, please. Do you want to take this or should
no, I think this is the last slide, and then I'll take the rest.
Okay, perfect. So who should take this program? So, you know, there's been a wide range of different individuals, you know, like from the poll, I see basically everyone scattered across what we have on the slides, which is not surprising at all. So there's a lot of people in the program that, you know, whether they've been veteran graphic designers, but want to, you know, get an edge and learn more about UX design because it's very overlapping. It's not difficult at all. You just have to kind of grasp the process. So there's people that come from the graphic design world, web development world, product design, project management course. Excuse me. And that's basically to, you know, learn more about that world. You know, every product manager has to deal with, designers now. So it's really good to kind of understand where they come from. Strategists, consultants, and anyone that wants to get exposed to the world of UX and UI design. Like I said, you know, it's not going anywhere, to be completely frank. There's, you know, virtual reality, augmented reality. You know, there's so many different opportunities out there to implement UX design and just understand storytelling and the design process to anything and everything that you're going to be exposed to in your career path. And I think that's it from my end.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Raheem. That was wonderful. So moving on in the presentation, in terms of the program structure, Raheem talked about the 4 courses that are that comprise the program. Again, reiterating, it is part-time, it's online and blended, which means that there's a combination of asynchronous, which has no live components, and live online. It helps students balance professional and personal commitments. You can complete the program in 8 months. In the asynchronous parts of the program, you can log in, study, participate in online discussions, submit your work, talk to your instructor, and log off when you need to. So it's very, very user-friendly for people that are working full-time, that's for sure. The online sessions, okay, there are 8 required live online sessions that are held on a Saturday or a Sunday. And these are live touch points. So for every course, there are 2 full day live online sessions. So 4 courses times 2 is 8. That's where we got the 8. There may be other live touch points as well throughout the program. So if Raheem, for example, I know that he has a lot of other live kind of touch points, and he will, those live touch points are recorded. So for example, if somebody can't make it, then, the session is recorded and then it is posted. Okay, so in a nutshell, this is what the program structure looks like. And in terms of additional opportunities, now we have lots of value add in this program, but I wanted to showcase a few other things that we offer our students. The biggest thing here is, I think that's actually not even on this list, is a new career kind of portal that is going to be available for students. By the time you finish your program, you will have access to a full comprehensive career services portal that uses AI technology to help you with resume writing, with finding a job, connecting you to potential job opportunities that are currently open, also connecting you to the market research. So it's a great collaboration that we have with a company called Burning Glass. And this career portal, which is going to be called Career Brain, will be available to all students, including those that start in the fall. It's currently being implemented. Very, very brand new initiative, which is very exciting. We've also introduced panel discussions. We're going to have a series of panel discussions and guest speakers in the program. Raheem does a lot of this. He brings in a lot of his contacts to speak to students, and I know that he talked to you all about that earlier. We'll have other networking and mentoring opportunities. We do have an entrepreneurship opportunity. It's through Innovation York. It's an extracurricular opportunity. It is an additional 6 months once you finish. If that's something that you want to do and you're interested in exploring the world of entrepreneurship, like for example, if you have an idea for a great business venture and you really don't know how to bring that idea into making it a reality, well, the Innovation York's Entrepreneurship Initiative will actually help you launch that idea by providing mentorship and various workshops. The cost is $1,200 for 6 months. And again, it is extracurricular, so it's not part of this program. Okay, so it's something for you to think about if that's the way you want to go. We also have, throughout the year, we have Excel training that is free for our students. And students also get access to LinkedIn Learning as part of their program for free. And lastly, but not least, is 10,000 Coffees, which is a collaboration that we have with RBC. And what 10,000 Coffees is, for those that don't know, is that it makes data-driven connections between you and other people, like industry professionals that you're interested in meeting. It matches you over virtual coffee chats. Okay, so all our students, they have access to 10,000 Coffees. All they need to do is sign up, and then AI then matches you with an industry professional to connect with, using, live Zoom or what have you. Okay. So moving on, registration information. The fall begins in September 2021. It's the 3rd week of September. We start on the 20th, I believe. The full schedule is available on our website. Please go to continue.yorku.ca. The program fee for all 4 courses is $43.96. And if you are a York University alumni, you get a 10% discount. So please give us a call if you are a York University alumni, and call us and let us know, and we will give you the discount code that you can use at registration. In terms of books, there are minimal books to purchase in this program. So please don't expect to be spending lots of money on books, because you won't be spending lots of money on books. The next slide is about contacting our school. We have a continuing studies advisor, Mike, that if you have any questions after this webinar, feel free to reach out to Mike and he'll do his best to answer them. Registration can be contacted at regscs@yorku.ca, and we are open Monday to Friday, 8:30 to 4:30. We have online and telephone advising appointments that are available. So that wraps up the information, the formal part of our presentation. Now we would love to take your questions, and Rahim is going to be available also to answer any questions that you may have. So please feel free to type in the question box and we will do our best to answer the questions.
Am I able to see the questions, or are you just going to read them out? I don't know.
I can read them out. You can check to see if,
okay.
as a organizer, you might be able to see them, but that's okay. I can just read them out. When does the winter session begin? So the winter session starts third week of January. Okay. Fall starts third week of September. Winter starts third week of January, and the first week, and then we have also spring. We have a May offering, a May cohort that starts right at the beginning of May. Rahim, I'll give you this one. Is it better to learn UX, UI design first and then do web development? I'm looking forward to doing both.
That's a great question. I mean, it's kind of the chicken and the egg. I would probably say start with design, because that will give you more of the ability to understand layouts and how you're going to approach things. So if I had to, I'm not a developer by any means. I'm not passionate about it. I'll let the experts do that. But if you wanted to do both, I would probably say start with design and then do development. But I would maybe talk to more people to kind of see what that approach would potentially be. But that would be my approach, would be probably start with design and then you can learn how to code. But you could also do the other way, right? If you know how to code, then you could easily implement the website you're designing. So it probably is best to kind of do your own research and figure out what approach makes the most sense. But to be honest, you can't go wrong with either approach.
And Rahim, what is the difference? I have a question. What is the difference between UX and UI?
So great question. So UX is kind of like, what's a good analogy? Let me think of an analogy. Okay, so UX is kind of like, give me a second. I had an analogy in mind that I'm trying to think of. Okay, think about it like this. If you're gonna drive from Toronto to Vancouver, right? UX is pretty much like, you want to make sure you can navigate on a map the right way, right? UI is understanding, are you taking the right routes, right? So you can probably draw a line across a map that's going to say, you know, this is where I have to go, right? But UI gets into the details to make sure that experience is pleasant, right? Like reading, this is a really high level analogy, it might not make sense, but basically UX is understanding the experience, and UI is kind of getting into the details of like, okay, does this like, do you need a grid here? Do you need like buttons here? Does this make sense? What is the visual communication of that button? So UX is kind of more high level in terms of understanding the journey of a website. UI is like looking at the details of like the visual design, the buttons, the size of the buttons, are the buttons in the right location, and so on and so forth. Does that answer your question? Sorry, my analogy, I couldn't think of one on the fly.
No, that's great. That's great. Let me see here. Is this program OSAP eligible? No, unfortunately, it is not OSAP eligible. Let's see. Did you say that the final project was a group or individual? It is a group project.
Yeah.
And in the program, are we going to learn any coding? No.
No.
No, there's no coding in the program.
Here's a question. I'm not a graphic designer or a web designer. Should I still take this course? Absolutely. I'm not a visual designer by any means. There's a lot of elements of design and UX design that you don't need to be a visual designer, right? So there's UX design, which is basically wireframing. There's design research, which you definitely don't need to be a visual designer. So there are various aspects of the UX design process where you do not need to be a visual designer by any means. So please do not let that intimidate you. But you will learn those skills through Philippe's course, and you'll be way more confident in that element.
So you can see the questions yourself, right? Maybe.
Yeah, I can. Yeah.
Great.
Are there any resources you would recommend to learn about modern practice? For example, Medium, Dribble. Linda, yeah, I mean, there's an overabundance of resources. Listening to some podcasts on design. There's one by Twitter that talks just about design research that I recently started listening to. There's a lot of designers you could follow on Instagram. There's an overabundance, like I said, of content out there. Depending on what your goals are, if you want to learn specifically like the skills, like Udemy, Linda, following people on YouTube would probably be the way to go. If you want to kind of learn and be inspired on a daily basis, places like Twitter and Instagram, and just following really good designers would probably be the best way to do it. And that's what I do in terms of just following the right people on Instagram, on Twitter, and just learning and seeing what they do to get inspired. If you actually go on Figma's website, they have great resources of like just not only how to use the software, but also tips and tricks about design in general.
And Rahim, I just wanted to mention about the resources that, as like I mentioned earlier in the presentation, that as a student they get access to free access to LinkedIn Learning, so they could use that as well, right, as an additional kind of resource. Yep. If they want to learn more, above and beyond what the program will cover. But our program is like really comprehensive, so I think we're going to be able to you will be able to cover everything you need to know, but you still have LinkedIn Learning as a resource.
Yeah, like I said, to be candid, to be a successful designer, the learning never ends. Like I'm still learning nonstop. You just have to have that hunger, and you'll do well. What exactly is a wireframe? So a wireframe is essentially like if you look at your smartphone, like your iPhone, and you like even look at your home screen, you see all the notifications. Think about what happens when you start designing, right? So you start with just drawing rectangles on your phone, like on a screen, and then you start getting into the details. Okay, so now where's the time stamp going to be? What's going to be in that notification, so on and so forth. So think about wireframes as just boxes that you're creating structure around the different elements of your design, if that makes sense. Just asking to see expectations of employers. Marina, do you want to take that one?
Sorry, which one? Just asking to see expectations of employers. I'm not sure what that means. Like, what is the question?
Yeah, I don't know either. Yeah, we'll come
so
back
if you, yeah, we can come back to that. If you could just kind of like elaborate on that.
Once you've completed the course, can you apply for web design jobs? Absolutely, but that's on you because you want to make sure your portfolio is ready for that, right? So the last thing in my course is basically creating a website for your work. Once your website is up, there's nothing stopping you from applying. Once again, it really depends on various variables, right? Like what world do you come from? Is your past in design? So obviously it's different for a lot of people. Some people might, be out of the gate, like super talented, and it might be easier for some people. Once again, it all comes down to your level of effort and how passionate you are. And also the other thing that I talk about in my course is just, I hate the term networking. I'd rather call it like building a community for yourself in terms of just, reaching out to people on LinkedIn. It's now easier than ever to connect with people because everyone is still partially home. So, sending a message to someone and being vulnerable and being like, I'm in this York University design course, I love your journey as a designer. Do you have like 50 minutes on Zoom to for me to learn more about yourself and so on and so forth. And you'd be surprised how many doors can open from doing that. And I did that way back when, and that allowed me that opened a lot of doors for me to help me get to where I am. So it's just being proactive and just being really creative with how you're going to be, to be honest, marketing yourself, right? Because everyone is a brand, and I teach that to everybody in terms of, what part of the design process you're passionate about and what's your superpower and so on and so forth. Okay, these questions are continuing to come. How does one start in this type of field, entry-level job? So great question. There's a lot of different ways to do this, to start off a career in design. So, after you're done this program, let's just start from there. Depending on what your experiences are. So let's say you have zero experience in design prior to this program, you graduate from this program. Now you have a portfolio of work, right? But it doesn't end there. You need to continuously work on your work, work on yourself, and whether, depending on your age. I had a friend in grad school that was 31 after she graduated, and she did an internship, and there's nothing wrong with her doing an internship, and she grew to be a design lead and almost a director after spending about 6 years there, right? So the thing about design is, like I said, if someone sees the potential in you and sees your passion you from growing, and then there's doing your own freelance work. Everyone needs design, but you want to make sure I teach in my course, you learn the process. So you can literally take my process and start your own consulting firm. And I don't even care, to be honest. Like, I didn't invent the process, right? So we give you the tools. Now it all depends on what you do with the tools. If that answers your question. Do employers expect a lot from new people entering the field? That's a great question. I would say yes and no. No, because it really depends on where you work, right? So there's two main avenues you can go down in design. So one is the consulting route, where you work at a design agency and they get projects from clients and you work on that. And the other avenue is the product in-house route, right? So you work for a company like Microsoft or Apple or whatever it is, and you design products specifically for that company, right? So it really depends on culture. There's so many variables. I've worked at places that have had really bad culture. I've worked at places that have amazing culture that helps growth and helps designers really learn and continue to grow. And those are the places you kind of want to look at when you're interviewing as well. Because remember, when you're interviewing, it's more about you wanting to fit in a place, not just you trying to land a job, right? You want to feel comfortable in that place. You want to make sure they're spending the time to nurture you and help you learn and help you grow from mentorship and stuff like that. So to answer your question, it really depends where you go, right? There's so many places. Like startups aren't, I always tell people, like, startups, depending on where they are, early startups aren't usually the best place for young designers to go. And the reason for that is that they're so focused on making their business survive that they sometimes overlook mentorship and stuff like that. But it really depends, right? Are there any annual networking opportunities for designers, for example, big events, virtual? So from my understanding from York, I'm not sure, but there are a lot of communities, Toronto, just look up design. There's a design community in Toronto. They usually have, before COVID, open houses where you can visit design firms and stuff like that. So there's so many virtual events going on for networking and conferences and stuff like that. Like Adobe has, if you just look up Adobe conference, they have a free conference at the end of October that I recommend everyone sign up for. And they have tremendous speakers, and you can learn a lot about design and what's happening in design through online conferences and stuff like that. So I highly recommend, if you just go on Adobe's website and you just Google Adobe October conference, you'll see it, and it's free. So I definitely recommend signing up for it. I want to be cognizant of time. Any other questions? I think we got them all. My apologies, please.
Did we get them all? I think we did, right?
I'm just going through them. I think so. Here's a question. In terms of business concepts, do we learn techniques like Scrum and Agile? We don't get into that, to be completely honest with you, but we do focus on the design process, which is essentially what I illustrated in terms of, understanding the problem, conceptualizing, testing, and then you coming up with the results. So we do not go and get into Scrum and Agile. From my understanding, that's more of a development point of view and project management. Yeah, I think we got them all. I want to be cognizant of time because I do have a hard stop at 1.
Yeah, I think we're good to.
I think we're good.
Yeah, I think we're good. Thank you, Rahim. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us today, and to the audience, to the participants. Thank you very, very much for sharing this 1 hour with us, and we really hope to see you in the classroom. Any other questions? Feel free to reach out to us and contact Mike. He's our advisor at continue@yorku.ca. And thank you very much, and stay safe, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of the day. Thanks again.
Yeah, feel free to Sorry, I was just going to say, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn if you guys have any questions. Happy to help, and hopefully I could see you and hopefully I get the opportunity to teach you if we cross paths.
That's awesome. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day. Take care. Thanks again, Rahim.
Take care, guys. Bye.
Bye-bye.